Hey Bammers, what's up? Mustiaki here. I've got a very exciting interview. I know the last time I said it's going to be a monthly episode. Unfortunately, I couldn't make that happen. If you want to know what happened to How to Bam last year, there's a new news and update video that's called Heads Update on the channel. So check that out if you want to know what happened to How to Bam. With that being said, this time I will interview not only the writer of a manga series, but also the publisher of Saturday AM. If you want to know how to get your work published, then you should definitely check out this month's interview with a mangaka. This time we take a closer look at Rayland Durham, North Carolina in the US of A. Here we find the writer of the manga The Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts. It's a story about Nile Rao, who receives a controller from his mother who abandoned him 7 years ago. The controller allows him to manifest a ghost that can move, talk and fight based on actions he creates with his controller. He soon discovered that his controller is unique and that there are other players with controllers who wield powerful, deadly ghosts. Now he has to survive against new threats and unravel the mystery of his mother's disappearance and his connection to this massively multiplayer world of ghosts. Although he loves writing stories, there's also another passion he is having for over 20 years. He used to make comics with his mother's copier machine and selling it to the neighborhood kids for 25 cents. Less than a year ago, he launched a new magazine, Saturday AM. Meet Frederick L. Jones, the founder of this new manga magazine. Saturday AM took a dive into the modern age of publishing and strictly aims for digital releases. Instead of swimming in domestic waters, Saturday AM surfs on some digital currents to dive up some new interesting creative talent from all over the world. Even White Manga, who we interviewed last time, jumped fences and is exclusively continuing his manga Apple Black in this young global anthology. Now, what makes Saturday AM exactly different from other publishers? What titles are they publishing, and how can we mangaka get our work published by Saturday AM? Let's meet the creator behind his creations in this month's interview with a mangaka. Joining me today for this interview is the founder of the online publishing website Saturday AM and the creator of the manga The Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts. Thank you for joining us today, Frederick L. Jones.
Thanks a lot. Nice to meet you, and a big fan of your of what the videos you've done. It was one of the ways I learned about white, so I'm really honored to be a part of this.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Great to hear that. Thank you so much. Let's talk about your manga first.
Okay.
And then talk about the publishing. You are the writer of the Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts, right?
Correct, right.
And not the artwork, you didn't do the artwork yourself?
No, I didn't, no.
How did you come to this idea of this manga?
Well, that ties in a lot to just the entire background of my company, my footprint, and Saturday AM and all these things. But, I grew up a fan of anime manga. And so I've always wanted to create, a manga and hopefully have it become an anime and things like that. Professionally, I was in the video game industry as an executive for over 10 years. And so I played a role in a couple of big things that happened in the game industry. I was, one of the people that worked to turn Yu-Gi-Oh! Into the big property that it was in North America. I was part of the original software, working with the PlayStation Underground and some of the key elements of some of their first-run software. As I worked at an ad agency called Rap Collins, so I did some stuff with Sony PlayStation back in the late 90s. And so, I have been around video games and comic book culture for just about my entire life. I just turned 40, so it's a very long time. And Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts bore out of my experiences in the early 2000s with the video games that I was working on and with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movement that I played a role in. And it was really, about taking that creativity that I had and wanting to tell that sort of story and coming up with something that really fit the zeitgeist of that time. And the basic conceit of it is that, people have these controllers. And the controllers actually can create a physical ghost, video game sort of character that can operate and fight and do and defend and do all these cool things. And that's when you think about things like Yu-Gi-Oh and some of the newer projects like Card Fight Vanguard and things like that. That's really all they are, right? It's like there's a tool to create a monster and then the monster fights, and so I had this really neat idea for that, or an interesting twist on that. And so at the time that I was working on this, the plan had originally been for it to be a book. And then as I wrote the novel, I realized, I really don't want to read this as a novel, but I still love the concept. I'm like, let me do it as a comic book. And that's how I discovered the entire webcomic movement. And then I met an artist named Eric Michael Ella, who is the designer of many of the characters for Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts. And so we came up with this short comic and did a whole bunch of character designs and created this world. And then as I was looking for a place to actually deliver it, that's how Saturday AM came about. I realized there was not a lot of places for people who had action manga webcomics to both communicate with one another and to put their stuff together with other properties like that. And so that's how Saturday AM came about. It came about kind of as a back end of me creating this concept and wanting to deliver it in the way that I thought would be the most powerful. And I created Saturday AM as a result of it.
Oh, and how did you meet the artist? How did it went?
Yeah, so I met him. It's a very similar story for most of your people who watch your videos who want to get into webcomics. Like I said, I just turned 40, so the world is so different today than it was when I was growing up, and I think a lot of young people. It's one of the things that's most interesting about my footprint and Saturday AM is that our entire objective is to create content and concepts that speak to the digital generation. I don't think Marvel, for example, really speaks to the digital generation. I don't think Shonen Jump speaks to the digital generation because this digital generation is built to be completely agnostic to this idea of like, I'm from Italy and you're from France, or I'm from America and you're from Indonesia. Like, those things do not exist with kids who are born, who are like 25 and younger. They just don't think of the world that way. And so for me, if this had happened 10 years earlier, the idea that I would have found an artist so easily would have been just fantastic. It would have been really, really hard to imagine it could have happened. But it was really simple. I mean, with all the different webcomic aggregator sites out there, with DeviantArt, I just remember, I posted some stuff on DeviantArt and was able to find Eric. And I found a lot of artists, but Eric was someone that I really vibed with. We were able to communicate using all the different Web 2.0 tools, and we were able to create a pretty good relationship and create. And I hired him to work on some Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts artwork.
Well, was there something in his work that you found interesting that lies deep within what lies within yourself?
I think. Look, like I said, I've been around art and was and played a role in some video games and trading card games and stuff for quite a while. So I take a very business view of a lot of this stuff. And I look at a lot of artists and find uniqueness in their artwork and ways that I can work with them. I do think that upcoming writers in this new webcomic world that we live in, I think upcoming writers need to accept that it's not about you. It's about, and it's not about the artist. It's about the property. And when you think about it from that perspective, then your artist is a piece of what makes this final piece artistic. But it's not just the art. So what I mean by that is just saying that, there's something in every piece of artwork, whether the artwork looks like Matt Groening of The Simpsons or it looks like Jim Lee of Superman, Batman, and X-Men and stuff like that. There's a wide swath of things that you can do with every different style. With Eric, what I liked was that I felt that I thought Eric had really good character design, and I thought that Eric was extremely good at merging, which was what I was really wanting to see with Massive Multiplayer World of Ghosts. He could take Western ideas, superhero, the kind of heroic form, and he could merge those with more anime-centric concepts, more manga-centric concepts. I think Saturday AM and my footprint, again, we are a Western company, and we have a very Western sensibility. So our objective is to try to take what the Western world of comics does very, very well and try to put manga in that. And it really hasn't been done, I don't think, well. And I'm not sure even the person that we're doing it great, but that's our objective. You want to create things that are immediately recognizable to everybody in the world. We don't alienate any one group. And so I thought Eric really set the template for that for all of Saturday AM, because Eric's stuff is, if you look at it on some levels, it can be really fine art. If you look at Eric's work on other levels, it can be very kind of cartoony and breezy. And then if you look at it on other levels, it can be very super heroic. So the fact that he's got all these talents built into one allowed me to create, I thought, some really dynamic stuff with Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts. And he created a comic for us called Pose Bots, and that's just a beautiful piece of art.
Was it after the manga that he did with you, or was it before?
Yeah, well,
that?
he had created Pose Bots before, but he really hadn't done anything major with it. So we worked with him to make it a big part of Saturday AM.
Oh, and how did your collaboration go? Was it hard? Was it difficult for you to get the story that you have visualized in your head? And yeah, like how much freedom did you have playing with that? And how much did you have to say in it?
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of questions.
Like I said, it's a collaboration. So I think no artist should ever go into a situation that they're going to have a ton of freedom. I do think that's one element that artists need to accept, is that I have a thing where I tell artists all the time that there are some artists out there who believe that that they are the nexus of everything, right? They can write, that they can draw, and then you'll just say to them, well, you don't have a lot of backgrounds. They're like, well, I don't do that. I don't do backgrounds. I don't like that. And you try to explain to them, like, well, if you want to be a professional artist, if you want to be an artist that actually goes to the next level and you can make a living at what you do, then you have to do all of it. It's one thing to be aware of things that you simply cannot do or do well. But I liken it to sports and the fact that you're from Europe. It's like football. Football is very popular around the world. Not so much in America, but around the world. And it's one of the things that I tell my artists all the time. I'm like, art is very much like soccer, or football. You have to have innate talent to even have a go at being successful at it, right? Like if you don't know how to kick a ball and play keepy-uppy and have it be successful for like 5 minutes or something like that, then you're not going to have a career in soccer. It's just not going to happen. On the other hand, you can do keepy-uppy and you can be the best keepy-uppy player in the world, but if you can't dribble, if you can't do a free kick, if you can't curl that shot around a wall, if you can't run through challenges, if you can't control the ball so that you can get past 2 or 3 defenders and break through them. If you can't do all those pieces over time, then you're not going to be a professional ball player. You might be really good at keepy-uppy, but you might have a lot of innate talent, but you don't have the skill to go to the professional level, to make it to the next level. And art is the same way. So you can forget having a career in art, in comic books, webcomics, whatever, if you do not know how to draw. Like if you cannot make a character who looks like, that if I were walking by a table and I look and I go, oh, you're drawing a person, you're drawing a dog. If you can't even do that, then, that's just not your thing. It's that simple. It's just not your thing. And so, again, it's a real struggle, I think, with artists to accept the things that they can do and the things that they can't do, and to work to improve across the board. I think there is an issue with that amongst many artists. Writers are the same way. There's some writers who believe that they can write really sophisticated drama, and they can't. They don't have the skill sets to do that. They can tell a story, but they're not funny as they think they are, or they're not as dramatic as they think they are. They don't know how to really touch the heartstrings, but they can get you from point A to point B. Yep. Both of those art styles, writing and drawing, I think are very similar. So I think when it comes to collaborations, I think what you have to accept at the start is that it's not about you if you're an artist. It's not about you if you're a writer. It's about the content. And once you accept that principle, then neither side is going to be happy, right? As a writer, when I wrote Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts, there were a lot of things that I wanted that I had to accept either I was not ready to be able to do in a graphic format like that, or that an artist, Eric, was not able to pull off the way I needed it to be pulled off. And so, you make trades on things, and I felt for the most part that, we achieved what we set out to do when a Mass Multiplayer World of Ghosts comes back, it'll be with a different artist because Eric is focused on, he's got some personal things going on, and he's focused on pose bots. But, for what we were able to establish, I'm very happy with the end result of that.
Now, how did you get to your inspiration for that? For inspiration for writing, did you get a writing education or something, or how do you judge that?
Yeah, so I graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I had a degree in communication studies. So writing has I created comic books when I was younger, and I can draw a little bit. I'm not, again, I know my limitations, so I'm no white manga or anything like that. But I have always wanted to create comic stories, and so I found early on that I had a far better gift at telling the story than I did at drawing the story, and so writing has always been something that I've enjoyed. And then I had some formal training in that at UNC, with creative writing classes and in English and just in communication studies, where I was focused on telling stories on different levels, right? Either orally or through or as part of business, but really getting to the art of communicating effectively to people. So, writing wise, I've always been enthralled with it. It's always been something that I've always wanted to do. And but I'll say that without a doubt, if you ask me what my favorite thing is, it's simply running my footprint and publishing Saturday AM and some of the other stuff we're getting ready to publish. It's far more exciting to do that because I just love seeing talented people recognize their potential. That really inspires me.
Yeah, and you can contribute to that. So that's
absolutely.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. And I have viewers that are also writers and are looking for artists. What can you give them as an advice that how to get the artist they are looking for?
Well, we have a brilliant writer in our group, a guy named Mario Savovsky, he's from Macedonia, a young guy, and he is really, really a brilliant writer. He is easily one of the most talented writers that I've seen in a very long time, and we are very, very honored to have him. And so, I think I asked Mario about this because he has an artist he works with named Gmar Delfino. Both of them are thousands of miles apart. Mario's in Macedonia, Gmar is in the Philippines, and they work on a series for us called Race On. And Mario, however, has written an ebook, which he's going to be publishing with us in late April, early May. And I asked Mario about this because Mario has had success a couple of different times. And I asked him about finding an artist and so forth. And I think, between his experiences and mine, what I would tell your writers, your viewers who are writers, is that first and foremost, I think it really comes down to having a really firm idea of what it is you're trying to do. Like, what is a story that you're trying to tell? And having a firm idea of that. I think, as we talked about before, as I've said now a few times on this interview, that the worst thing that can happen at this amateur level that we're all in is to believe something that's actually not true. And so, if you don't have the talent that you think you do, you need to, join a writer's group, get feedback so you can determine and learn what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and you can make the proper adjustments to your own career, your own thought about what you want to do as a writer. But when it comes to finding an artist, I think, like I said, it's all about the content first. It's like you have to have a really firm idea of what the story you're trying to tell is, so that as you begin the process of finding an artist, you are having realistic expectations of what your art needs are. Thinking that you're going to find an artist who draws like, Oba, who does like something like Death Note, that's probably not realistic. On the other hand, thinking you're going to find an artist, or thinking that, another artist does not fit your style because their artwork is quirky, it's not about your personal idea of what the art is. It's about what the story requires. And if you meet someone whose artwork is maybe, quirkier than what you think that you personally like, but they have great draftsmanship, they can tell a scene. Like you can look at their sequential storytelling. You can see that they can actually communicate tension, or communicate humor, or communicate romance. That they can really do it. They can really, from panel to panel, without any dialogue bubbles there, they can walk you through a scene because they've got that internal cinematographer head where they can plan out exactly how to draw you in without any dialogue. There are people who have styles that are maybe different than what you want, but they can do that really well. So I think what it comes down to is, use the platforms that are out there. Use DeviantArt. Use the forums of DeviantArt and ask questions. Webcomic Underdogs is another excellent resource for upcoming webcomic creators. We're going to have a forum soon on our site and with our Facebook fan page where people can also do things like that as well. But I would say, use all these different social networks to find art that you are good with. But once you find, because trust me, once you put it out there that you're looking for an artist, you will get people interested. There are lots of people out there who are looking for a good writer, and so it's not as hard to find an artist as I think people think. I mean, Musiaki, you're a hell of an artist too, so it's not like it's hard to find people who can draw really well. But again, it's about, for that relationship to work, it's about being realistic with what you're trying to do, with what the actual content requires, not with what you want. No. And making the right choice based off of the person's ability to tell a story, and then your own personal relationship with that person. I'm a believer in, talking to a potential person that you work with, a few times so that you get a sense of who they are as a person and make sure that your personalities gel. Because, creativity in and of itself is a very lonely profession. It's a very lonely exercise. And I don't think, again, that a lot of webcomic creators really realize how much work is involved with creating stuff. It's very lonely. And so if you are partnered with someone, just as important as the artwork is important that you feel like you can actually trust this person. And so, the social networks, DeviantArt probably being the top would be the places I would start with.
Is that something how it also went for you finding Eric Michael Ella? How did you sell or persuade him to artwork your story?
Yeah, well, like I said, one of the other elements of that is if you're paying, you definitely have no problem finding an artist, right? If you are paying, you will have no problem finding an artist. So that's another thing. But, Eric did, do some really heroic stuff for us that he wasn't paid for. As we started putting together the overall apparatus of my footprint in Saturday AM, because he believed in it and because it was going to be a platform for Posebots. So I think, and then many of our creators, have done things at various times, for free. And so I think that, it, in terms of selling people on it, I think, again, if you, like I said, I'm a lot older than everyone else, and I have, a corporate background. So I'm very easy to explain what it is we're trying to do with my footprint with Saturday AM and get people excited about it. Now, again, whether or not they're excited about it to work for the rate that I would pay is another story. But certainly, it's, I haven't had any issues explaining what we do and getting people excited about it. But I think that, and Mario, again, he's a great example. Mario, his stuff is literally 100%, I think, based off his talent. And the fact that he is such a nice person, he's able to convince artists to work with him because he's just got this amazing talent as a writer. He tells really good stories, he's got really good ideas, and he's a really nice guy, and he's able to sell himself. So, everyone's got their own niche that works for them. But, for me, telling people the vision of Saturday AM and my footprint, I find has been very successful in getting talent to work with us.
Yeah, cool. Is it going to be an ongoing series?
Yeah, it was designed to be an ongoing series. I mean, the objective for Mass Multiplayer World of Ghosts is very much the objective of every Saturday AM property, and that is, we expect these properties to be toys and cartoons and T-shirts and all these things. So these are properties that are built to be mainstream. They're not built to be quirky little webcomics that may or may not ever last past 2 issues.
And where can we see the massively multiplayer World of Ghosts going? Is it still continuing right now?
No, it's been on hiatus. Like I said, I'm looking for a new artist for that. And honestly, what happened was that Eric was going to do Posebots when we launched Mass Multiplayer World of Ghosts, and we had another artist lined up. He was a very exciting talent out of South America, and he ended up having an opportunity to do some college, to go to college, and so we just could not swing it because Saturday AM works a certain way. It's a bi-weekly magazine, comes out every 2 weeks. The artists have requirements of the page count that they have to provide each week. both a minimum and a maximum. So it, was automatically was a problem that, this creator, he was like, I can't, I want to do it. And he'd already started work on it, but he simply could not do it and go to school. And I understood that perfectly. Saturday AM, was also a gigantic endeavor. We launched Saturday AM in November, and we realized that we weren't ready yet. So we turned it into a beta issue and solicited people's opinions and advice and critique. And it took us about 6 weeks to take everything we learned doing that first issue and come up with a process and a platform to take it forward as a bi-weekly publication. And so we came out officially January 11th. So we debuted November 23rd, but the first issue, actually final version with a brand new white manga cover, didn't come out until early January. And then we haven't missed an issue since. We've been every 2 weeks. Our comic comes out on time. It's nearly 100 pages each issue. And so it's been pretty straightforward from that, but it's been a lot of work. And so massively multiplayer World of Ghosts, when I couldn't make the first issue with this artist, and I realized how much work was ahead of me to get Saturday AM launched, then I just said, you know what, I'm going to shelve this, find an artist when I have time, find a really good artist, because Saturday AM, the quality level of Saturday AM is meant to be high. And, it's not going to require a simple artist. It's got to be an artist who really has a high A game to match people like White Manga and Raymond Brown and Wally Wynn, Mikhail Dingle, who's getting ready to do Metallica Lux Nova. It's just, our talent level right now is ridiculous. And so, I'm still looking for that artist. And so what we did was we just suspended it. We've only published part of chapter 1. So, we got a ways to go.
But do you get the story all written out?
Yeah, no, I know exactly where it goes. I mean, this is it'll run for quite a while when we get it going. So I think, the Robert Kirkman model, if you know Robert Kirkman of Walking Dead, he had an artist for the first several issues, and named Tony Moore, I think, or Terry Moore, Tony Moore. And Tony Moore's artwork is awesome. It was awesome, and it really helped sell Walking Dead at the very beginning. But Kirkman is a master storyteller. The story really took off. He got Charlie Adler on later. Charlie Adler is a great artist. In my personal opinion, he's not as dynamic as Tony Moore, but he's very, very good. And he fit Walking Dead very well because he was able to communicate a lot of what Kirkman does. But, they went at that for a very long time before Walking Dead became this phenomenon. And I think when you look at that as an example, if you are a webcomic creator or you've got ambitions like I do with Mass Multiplayer World of Ghosts, you understand that, it's going to take time. You want to find the sort of creator that can grow with you, and you want to find an art talent that is in it for the long haul. Someone who's in it for just 5 issues or 10 issues is probably not really going to help you. You want someone who's really in it for the long haul. Yep. So it's I've resigned myself to taking a while. Finding that creator. Mass Multiplayer World Ghosts will be a part of Saturday AM when it comes back, and it will run for a very long time. If I can help it. So
looking forward to that.
Yeah, thanks.
I read it.
I didn't know many people knew about Mass Multiplayer World Ghosts.
I read it maybe last week. The preview version. And I was really hyped about it. I was, wow, this is a great concept. But then it stopped. And what happened to it? So, I really wanted to see more about that.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it'll come out this year, but I can't say for sure. We have a lot of exciting stuff, though, happening with My Footprint Saturday AM, so, it's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about it already, but can you explain it to the viewers who don't know Saturday AM, what it is exactly?
If you like this video, then super smash that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to our How to BAM YouTube channel. It's a great way for staying updated for the latest shows and videos. If you also have a question about making manga that you want to be answered on our show, then send in your email to info@howtobam.com. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter for some great giveaways and prizes.